All right, all right, all right. What is going on, everyone? So, my name is Cameron Action. I'm the creator of the D&D Coalition. We're on Instagram, pretty active on there. And I'm here with my friend Keith Healy, who runs the big Instagram page Fire and Dice. So, Keith, what's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm great, Cameron. How are you doing?
Good, man, good. So this is something that we've been chatting about for a little while. Bear with me here. I know my visual kind of keeps freezing up. As long as the audio stays good, then we should be fine. But you and I basically have been chatting about doing this for a while now. As I've told you in the past, you were actually one of the people that kind of inspired me to create the D&D Coalition. Followed accounts like yours on my personal account, and I always wanted to contribute to the content that was being thrown out there, but I just never really knew how to get started. So one day I just did it, and I actually remember I reached out to you, and you're like, "Yeah, man, that's awesome. Go ahead, do it." And it's just kind of we've been chatting ever since, and thus here we are now. So tell me your story. Kind of tell me a little bit about what got you started in the Instagram game.
Well, what got me started in the Instagram game is, I mean, obviously, I've always been interested in Dungeons and Dragons ever since first edition. I'm one of the old schoolers that have been around for a while. Um, but ironically, I used to run a fitness page on Instagram, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. The community is much different. I don't think it's as welcoming. It just wasn't as fun. And we picked up with fifth edition. I'd been playing it for a while, and then I decided, I started looking around on Instagram and on the internet to see what was out there because I'd already been watching Critical Role and stuff. And then I realized there was a lot bigger, community on Instagram than I thought there was. And I mean, I think you realize the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, you know what, I'll just start a page up, try and interact with the community, see who's out there. It's a great way to meet people, get some games going with some people, hooking up with people online, seeing people at some of the events. And, it just kind of snowballed from there. I just started, kept on posting stuff, interacting with people and meeting new people. And it just kind of snowballed from there, like I said.
Right, right. Yeah, and you mentioned Critical Role. I mean, I feel like with them, this community has been propelled forward at a rate that nobody ever expected.
Oh, yeah.
Not only won the fan base with Crit Role, but just the D&D community as a whole.
Yeah, it was kind of like the perfect storm because you had fifth edition that came out, which started bringing everybody back to Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to some of the people who left because of fourth edition to Pathfinder. So it brought a lot of people back, and it started bringing new people in with the more streamlined rules, easier to follow. I think new people have an easier time playing this one. But then you had Critical Role started their stream, which is obviously, the voice actors, the writing, the everything that Matt Mercer does, is just incredible. Stranger Things,
Yeah.
and that's different people who enjoyed the show but may not have even knew what Dungeons and Dragons was. They started saying, well, let me check this out, and it just everything. And then the internet, obviously at this time, every other edition didn't have that advantage.
Yeah, and I feel like Wizards of the Coast, they've made it a little bit harder push with fifth edition, I think, but I think it all boils down to just the community. I mean,
Yeah, that too.
every it's so crazy because everybody is posting D&D content, everybody's liking, sharing. I mean, it's absolutely nuts.
Hmm.
So that kind of brings me to my next question. Did you get into Critical Role at the very beginning of season one, or when did you kind of come across them?
No, that's funny because I didn't really watch. I didn't listen to a lot of podcasts or streams or any of that stuff. But I forget exactly. I was on YouTube looking at something, and I saw this thing, Critical Role, and I was like, Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, well, let me check this out. So then I started checking it out, and I got hooked. It was probably, I want to say it was probably about 40 episodes in, somewhere around that point.
Okay,
I can't remember exactly what time frame that was. Gosh, it's got to be at least a year and a half. Well, now actually 2.5 years ago, probably at least.
right.
Yeah, I just came across it just by chance, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean they're all incredibly talented actors, and on top of that, there's good people too. So obviously, you put a group of talented individuals that are also very nice and kind. I mean, that's what you get. You get this huge movement.
Yeah, and they all do seem genuine, you know. You can kind of tell. Sometimes you can read people, sometimes not, but they seem like a bunch of genuine people. And then, like you said, they're obviously all talented. Matt kind of leads the way where he has all the knowledge. You know, he makes sure he understands the rules, which is a huge thing. He controls the table, which is another huge thing. You know, there are some GMs that they can know every single rule, but they don't know how to run a table. And it comes with the players too, where they understand what he's doing and they trust him. That's the biggest thing too, is that they trust him.
Yeah, that is huge. So that actually kind of sparked a question. So for you as a DM and your experiences, what do you do when you sit down and play with a new group of people? So I know you have your home campaign, you've been with the same people for a while, but at the very beginning, or if you have new people in there, do you like lay down ground rules, or how do you set that mode or that atmosphere for your players? Because I know that's a question I get pretty often, is like people feel awkward about making rules and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't really, for the most part, lay down any ground rules, so to speak, like go through a list of rules. I kind of give them a heads up on certain things maybe in talking with them, because usually when I have a new player come in, I'll have a chance to talk to them a couple different occasions. Like I was telling you about Josh, one of the guys I met through Instagram, happens to live near me, and he's joined our main campaign. It was just, you know, chatting with him and just kind of giving him ideas and stuff. But typically, I like the people to come in and bring something different to the table. I kind of want them to just come in and be themselves, be their character, and just explore it as much as possible. If there's any conflicts, you know, we'll bring it up. But usually I don't even like to say there's conflicts at the tables. It's just different ways of doing things. You know, we may have
styles.
You know, I don't allow that or this or that. But typically I play pretty streamlined by the rules. I allow homebrew. If someone wants something homebrewed, I'll find a way to bring it in, and I'll make it work. You know, because I love the creativity, and I want people to be the character they want to be, and I want them to be excited about it, and I want them to enjoy that.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, on that note with homebrew, there's so much good homebrew content out there that these people share and come up with, and it's absolutely incredible. I've shared the few of them in my the collaboration little pictures that I make. And those 4 people are actually some of my favorite ones that are out there that are just posting up content all the time. It's exceptional. There's one about the slime armor, and there's a guy that messaged me, and he said, "What if this is gelatinous cube slime?" And it kind of like sparked a whole question, and it was just an interesting aspect of like seeing other people's creativity kind of coming in play, which is awesome. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I always want my players to feel like, I don't want it to feel like it's like they're playing my game. Like it is their game. I'm just here to set the scene, if you will.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you. That's the way I see it. I see it. Obviously, it's a story that everybody is telling together, but it's the player's story. I want them to really create it, and me to just help it along and help, not even guide it so much, but just really add whatever's needed to that story to help it move along.
Right.
But yeah, I love people who bring their backstories into it, so that I can intertwine that, because you know our main campaign is a homebrew. It's one that I created.
Okay.
Buddy put together their backstories. Some of them, you know, I've intertwined a lot. Some of them I've already, you know, encountered and been trying to take care of their backstories, which I love, because then the person's expression, when all of a sudden they realize that this is someone from their past, it's like, and then the spotlight's on them, you know, people just love that, and that's what the game is about.
Yeah.
And then it's more invested.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't actually play in Faerun Forgotten Realms?
What's that?
So you don't actually play in Faerun. You have your own world that you've created.
Yeah, this one I actually created the world. Right now, I've created basically 2 continents of it, and they're in one of the continents, and I'm just continuing to grow on that. I mean, they'll be in this continent for a while, but if they ever get a hold of any type of teleportation or anything to other realms, that'll be a little tougher, but we'll work through it. But yeah, this is one I created, and then I do run some other pre-written campaigns. I love all the campaign books I've read through. One of my favorites actually is Yawning Portal, but that's also because it's a lot of the classics. Yeah. So I love that one. Curse of Strahd, of course, is a great one, and Tomb of Annihilation. So
I really liked how they took that Ravenloft and made the Curse of Strahd out of that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think everybody loves that. I mean, I think a lot of people followed along with the All Natural 20s. They just finished it up. And they love, I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about Curse of Strahd, really.
Yeah, no, and I would have to agree with that too, because with every other module, I feel like there's always something about them that somebody doesn't like. Like I know I'm doing Storm King's Thunder, just the general premise with it, like with the giants and everything. But I know the first thing that I heard about it whenever I was looking it up was Chapter 3, the open sandbox. That's just like, well, what the heck do you mean there's no direction?
Right.
So, and I took that and I actually love that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But just because it gives your players a chance to like, okay, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go?
Yeah. And I think, as an experienced DM, I think a big part of it is making sure you do read the campaigns and stay ahead of it so you know and understand what's coming up so you can create your own stuff or add to it whatever's needed. That way you're not unprepared for those type of things. So yeah, reading the book ahead of time, or not obviously reading the whole book, but skimming through it and then maybe reading a little detail after a session when you know where it's going to be going from there, and just staying ahead of the game helps out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many good guides out there.
How are you liking Storm King's Thunder so far?
I like it a lot. The underlying premise, like just with the giants and the shattering of the Ordning, it's really cool. And I love the Savage Northwest, like Waterdeep area. You've got Luskan, you've got Neverwinter, you got all those areas up there. So I know a lot about that, especially because I read the Drift books growing up. And I actually, as an adult, like reread them like a couple of years ago. So kind of like knowing that background as well as some of the Forgotten Realms lore was just really cool. So I would encourage people out there, if you do like the Forgotten Realms lore, definitely give Storm King's Thunder a try, because it gives you players the chance to explore and see a lot of different aspects of that part of the continent, which is awesome. So question for you, what would if you had to pick a piece of advice for the starting DM that's starting this very first campaign, what would you tell he or she?
I'm assuming we're talking a pre-written campaign.
Yeah, like a pre-written module.
Basically what I was just talking about, prep work. Just a couple quick tips for new DMs. Let's say someone wants to go ahead and try DMing. They're going to do a pre-written campaign. So first of all, it really does help. You don't have to do this, but it really helps to know what characters everyone's bringing to the table. That way you can have an idea of who's going to be there. Because it's always good as a DM to have a working knowledge of how each character works. So get to know a little bit about each character and what attributes they have, what spells they have, everything they have starting off, just so you can kind of help them along the way.
Right.
Prepared for the campaign, skimming through it, reading a little bit, understanding what it's about, what the premise is, and where it's kind of supposed to go or where it can go. Just being prepared in that way. And then, like you said, not laying ground rules so much, but kind of letting everybody know what your style is. And then you can go from there and you guys can adjust whatever's needed. But just having really a collaboration with the players, making sure you're on the same page with all of them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And especially because like you said, getting to know your players with combat encounters, you can do a lot more fun things whenever you have a well-balanced party.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I know that to me is pretty big, especially if you have a group where it's like a glass cannon that can do a lot of damage, but they can't take damage for shit because there's no healers. then you got to hit them hard and fast because they're going to do the same thing. So I always like having those really well balanced parties that you can kind of get away with a little bit more. So,
Yeah.
but I would definitely agree. Prep work is everything.
Yeah,
Even
that's
if
one.
you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even if like you just have the general idea of what you're doing, if you have one main goal in mind, that's everything.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, on that note with the balanced parties, it is, and it's actually more challenging for a DM because, in the homebrew, I have 8 players in the group. They did not have a cleric. They did not have a bard at one point.
Oh my god.
So the only healer they had at one time was a paladin. It was basically about it, and it was a little easier to get them into trouble as a DM because I like to really make it as challenging, especially since they're all pretty experienced players.
Mm-hmm.
I like to make it as challenging as possible because that's what makes it fun. Is when they go into an encounter and they know this could be it. This is tough, or they come across. Their level what 6 now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're just about 7. So if they come across like 2 hill giants, they know they're going to win the fight. There's not much fun there. So I like to make it challenging. But now they ended up getting a bard because someone dropped out, someone comes back in. Then they got a cleric. And I was like, oh, and it made it so much tougher as a DM because there was just heal, heal, heal.
Yeah.
And it's like, so a lot more strategy comes into play when they have those healers.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of different types of DMs where I have one guy that I play with for regular. He's very theater of the mind, and he does a good job at illustrating like an encounter with no maps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very unique skill to have right there. But personally, I love the big maps. I love the terrain. I love the minis. I love all of that. And then just like the big encounters that are going to go 3, 4, maybe even 5 rounds. It's kind of something I've always enjoyed doing. I know my players enjoy doing it. What is kind of your style? Do you like the big maps and the terrain and all of that?
I do. I mean, I like to create the theater of mind with the entire world itself,
Mm-hmm.
every setting except for battles. I mean, I will create the setting, but at the same time, when the battle's about to go, yes, because I have a lot of like Dwarven Forge stuff. I have this other one. What's the name of it? I can't remember. I'll think of it later. But so I love bringing out that pre-built dungeon and setting the scene like that, and all my players do too. They all, they get up, they start looking, they try and see, start seeing where they would be in the room and stuff like that. And it does bring that excitement seeing the creatures. So I definitely do love using the miniatures, using the maps and stuff like that for battles. But I do. I am a fairly animated person at the table. I like to think I am. I'm not, great at voices. We all aren't. I'm definitely not one that's great at voices, but I do role play every single character and try and bring voices to every single NPC.
Yeah.
Because I do love creating that environment and trying to get people into it. But yeah, battles definitely using the maps. I'm glad you kind of brought that up because I'd love to watch how people do it without the miniatures in 5e. It just blows my mind that someone can do that, especially like my party where there's 8 people, they may be taking on an encounter of 6. And I'm like, how in the world do you keep track of 14 individuals on a battle map with, attacks of opportunity, with just spacing, with the spell changes, all that kind of stuff? How do you keep a hold of that with possibly that many people in different settings? It just blows my mind. I'd love to see someone who actually manages that well.
One of the people that does that, like to the insane, just like you're saying, like positioning, all that stuff, is Mike Merles.
Oh,
that dude, yes, he is absolutely incredible. I have no idea how he does it, but he has a very good skill when it comes to that type of encounter.
What show is he on? Is he on a show right now doing DMing?
Yeah, he is. He does do a stream. I know he obviously gets featured in a lot of things. I watched him on the stream of Many Eyes last year. That event that they did like a, I want to say it was like the Jocks version. So they had like the big show, Travis Willingham. Yeah.
And they all played just meat shields, right? Pretty much.
Yes. and that was really cool. But I do know I wanted like Lords of Waterdeep or something like that. That might be his stream's name. I'm not 100% sure, but he's a fun one to watch. He's very very smart and clever in the way he kind of goes about it. And he's the same way like that you were just mentioning. He's like he role plays everything, but he doesn't really go all out with the voices. He kind of stays within his lane. But nonetheless, when you're sitting at his table listening, it's like you're there, you're in the game.
Yeah, I love to do that kind of stuff, and I do try the voices. I'm just not that good at them.
Right.
You should have seen me. I was actually for our last campaign, one of the guys that I expected them to meet a long time ago. And that's the funny thing about the players is you can create an NPC that I meant this guy to be very important in the campaign. They didn't even start talking to him until a year into this campaign.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, literally about a month ago they started talking to him for the first time, and I'm like, serious. But now it's coming along well. But the funny thing is I have a French accent. I literally went on YouTube and was watching videos on how to do a French accent.
Nice. That's what you got to do.
Try and learn. Yeah, because I want it to be authentic. I want to give them that experience, and I hope they appreciate it. I think some of them do, and they all are trying to work on bringing their own voice and stuff like that.
Right. Right. How often do you guys play? Do you guys do weekly?
We're not able to do every week. I think for the most part, well, let's think. This is our 13th month in this campaign, and we've had 26 sessions. So, we've played about twice a month, basically, is what it averages out to.
Okay.
There's sometimes we just had to skip 2 weeks, but then we'll be back on this weekend. And just try and do back-to-back weekends and stuff like that when we can.
Right. Yeah, we try to actually do like every Thursday, every Friday, but usually we might go every other week here and there, just depending on how people's schedules line up.
And you DM your group, correct?
What'd you say?
You DM your group, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I DM for my group, and then I play in another campaign that's not as regular, but usually we do that like once or twice a month. And it's always nice to kind of like. I firmly believe if you want to be a really good DM and hone on your craft, you should definitely still play a little bit.
Oh yeah, I would love to play more. I think I've played as a character. I played in a one shot. One of my friends went ahead, and when we were off on a weekend, he was like, "Well, you know what? I'll run a one shot." And I got to play. I played a Minotaur. I think a Minotaur Barbarian.
Nice.
It was just kind of a quick one. It was my first time trying out the Minotaur, so I thought that was kind of cool. And I got to play one other time, and that was my personal PC. His name's Chadley Lamont Buttercup. He's a half-elf bard, which I just am dying to play him more often. But I got to play him once. We started Curse of Strahd. I started as a player, and that was just a lot of fun being able to be a PC. And it's more relaxing because you're not as stressed,
Right.
Session.
No, that's awesome. It is one of my players. She did a one shot. She wanted to do it for a long time, and I was like, yeah, whenever you want, we can just take a week off and you can do your one shot. And she did it, and she did a great job, and it was so much fun. And afterwards, she's like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. That was way too much prep work. She's like, I have no idea how you do that every single week.
Yeah. I always encourage every player to try and DM once. Even if you're not comfortable, just give it a try once. Even if it's just a small one-shot with maybe 3 people where it's just all fighting. Just try DMing once because it really enables you to see the game from a different perspective, understand some of the prep work that goes into DMing, and just the overall aspect of it. But yeah, I encourage everybody to try at least once.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest thing, and I feel like DMing, and luckily nowadays it's gotten like less of a daunting task, but I feel like people think like, oh, I need to know the rules forward and backwards if I want to DM. And I could not disagree with that more, because if you want to learn the rules, best way to do it, in my opinion, is just DM. Trial by fire, just do it.
Yeah, you will learn them quick, trust me. Especially if it's so long, people will definitely be quick to point it out, and then you'll know the rule 100%. But it's good. I mean, it definitely is good. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. I mean, we've all seen Matt Mercer make some mistakes, and trust me, people on the internet will be quick to point him out. He just rolls with it, and the players trust him. So even if he gets it wrong, they may not know it, and still they trust that he's running the game fair and running it the right way,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing.
That is the biggest thing is like, I feel like you really do have to trust your DM, because if you do, then you're not going to continue. You know that he or she is always going to do right. And if you're playing with a group of friends, I mean, nobody's out to like kill each other's characters on purpose. Like there's not really any DM that's going to intentionally want to do that. So I think that is a huge aspect of it, just trusting your DM.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you come to my table, I want you to have a great experience. I want you to have fun, but I want it to be challenging, because I think that adds to the experience. If you go through and you just hack a bunch of stuff up one night and there's no challenge to it, it's like, oh yeah, we had it. We fought a couple of things. It was really easy. But when you have those epic battles that is challenging and they've got to strategize, and one or two players go down, they have to revive them or bring them back, and it's an epic battle. They remember those ones. They'll be talking about that. A couple months later, they'll bring up those fights, and that's when people had fun and you did a good job.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And one thing, whenever I first started with the group I'm with now, one of my players, like, he kept getting super pissed off at the table, and because I was giving him like, it's a hard situation. And afterwards, there's like 2 weeks of this, and this was like when we were a brand new group. I asked him, I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Is everything okay? I just want to make sure you don't think I'm picking on you, that I'm being mean or anything." He's like, "Oh, dude." It's like, "I love this." He said, "I'm not mad at you at all." He said, "My character's angry." He said, "I'm sorry if that's how it came across." He said, "But I absolutely love it." He said, "Keep doing it." So it's making sure not to take it personal, because if you are a DM, it's very easy to think that your friends or your players, whoever it is you're with, is mad at you. But in reality, they're not mad at you. They understand that you're just the person behind the curtain that's orchestrating everything.
Right.
So
and that's good that, like you said, you actually you guys had a conversation about that just to make sure. And that's always good. Keep those conversations with your players after. Ask them. So I always like to ask them, how did you like the session, or how did you think that go, and if they have any suggestions, any comments, I always take those to heart and try and work on those things. If they felt like, well, this time, they were shopping and they were taking a little too long, and I'm like, okay, I'll make a mental note of that so that I, as a DM, can speed things up next time and make sure things keep going a little quicker.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And that sort of feedback is, you'll get that, you'll learn that about your players even as you just play the game and spend more time with them.
And you want that. I mean, as a DM, I want that feedback
every
chance I get. I don't take it personally at all. If someone has a concern or anything, especially when we first started the campaign, if people brought things up, I would, if it was something that I needed to work on, I'd say, oh, that's a good suggestion. Or if it was something that, they just had to deal with, I would just, let them know in a good way that, hey, this is how things run. This is how we've got to do it. It's best for the whole table if we do it that way.
Right. Absolutely. So I kind of want to circle back. I know you said that you don't get to play as much as you would like to, but you do your Friday night mashups. I know those have become insanely popular. I love seeing those things pop across my news feed. And then whenever you have people vote for it, and then you always give the results the week after. So how the heck did you even think of that?
Well, with the Instagram page, a lot of people have their own thing on what they do, and a lot of the pages because you follow a lot of the same ones I do, and they have those niches, and that's what I wanted to do when I created the page. I wanted to bring people something that they would get invested in, that they would enjoy. So, there's typical, like I do the Monster Monday, but other people do that. I started doing the Transformation Tuesday, which I really haven't seen anyone else do, kind of showing how each creature evolves from first all the way to 5th edition. I kind of thought that would be kind of cool for some people to be able to see.
Yeah, those are cool.
And then, I was thinking, okay, well, Wednesday, what's Wednesday? Thursday, throwback, Friday. And I was like, what goes with Friday? And I was like, well, Friday Night Fights. They have boxing. It's been a popular thing forever. And I was like, I could just do that with monsters. So that's what started it all. The first season it was okay. I did it. I rolled out the fights basically by myself, which was just terrible. I probably really looked like a nerd sitting at a table rolling 2 creatures against us. But I didn't videotape anything. But then it became popular, and people would DM me and say, "Hey, we want to see these fights. We want to see them role played. How are they going? You know, stuff like that. We want to see them." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe I'll expand this." So in the second season, I decided, you know what, I'm going to videotape them. I'm going to have guys from the crew go ahead and come in and role play the creatures. And that actually did very well. And I started posting the videos on the YouTube page. And then now the third season has come. I've got the guy, Josh, that helps me out, who's, you know, he's trying to become a voice actor. So he brings a lot of energy to the table. And it almost forces you to match that energy. And it's a lot of fun. And, you know, he's in the main campaign now, and I think everybody immediately fed off of his energy. But that's basically how it got started. It was just the idea of a theme for that day. And it went from there, and it's a lot of fun. And, of course, I do it as a giveaway. You know, I always like to give back to this community, so I always like to do these giveaways. And this season is the WizKids Frost Giant Mini that we're giving away to whoever gets the most correct votes.
Yeah. How do you keep track of those?
Well, basically, I actually, through the season, I don't really keep track of it. Everyone makes their votes. I know when the cutoff is. And it's a surprise to me because usually about a couple weeks left, I'll go ahead and I do an Excel spreadsheet. I get everybody's name in there, check off who gets which week right, which takes a little bit of time. But I enjoy doing it because I love numbers and I love calculations and stuff like that.
Right.
So like last season, I calculated it up and looked into the last week, and I was like, okay, so if the Battle Force Angel wins, it was going to be a tie. And if the oh my goodness, I can't remember the demon that she fought, or the devil. Can't remember. But if that one won, it would have been an outright win for the other person. But it ended up being Battle Force Angel, so it was a tie. So I just ended up sending them both a mini.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I always like to go ahead.
The username is Muay Thai Dan, and they actually tied both seasons.
Oh, no shit. Wow. Okay.
That's how they did it.
How many people, I know those get a lot of comments. How many people like contribute to those every week?
Well, obviously in the first season, it wasn't too many. I think maybe by the end there was maybe, 50, 60 comments on it. Now it's pretty consistently over 100 comments every week. And sometimes from new people. So I love new people coming in. Just encourage them to, don't give up on it, keep voting, especially this early in the season, because, you go on a hot streak and get 5 or 6 in a row, right? Usually last year out of 12 fights, the winner only had 8 out of 12, and this season is 15. So, there's a lot of opportunity out there for people to win it. And also it's just a lot of fun to vote, see if you get it right, to analyze it. I love reading the people's comments and seeing their thought process on, well, this creature should beat that one because they have this. They have this ability. They have the more hit points, the armor class, more attack. I love seeing people's train of thought.
Right. I know for a fact I've personally seen those Friday night fights, and I've been like, oh, I got to throw one of those into my players. Mm-hmm. So I've personally gotten inspiration from those things.
Oh, and,
yeah. That's I would say the number one thing that I do just like about going on the rabbit hole every once in a while is just the stuff people come up with. And I get so much inspiration from everybody's stuff out there. And that's the biggest thing that kind of turned me onto your page, is because every time I would go to it, there'd be some sort of value there. And you weren't just recycling stuff, throwing things up that has already been watered down. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but to have somebody that is actively contributing to the community and adding value, that's ultimately why I even got started, because I wanted to do that too. And so I guess I want to say thank you for contributing, because I know it takes a lot of time and it's exhausting, especially when you have a personal life, you got a job and everything. So thank you for always posting up some good stuff.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. And that's what I try and do, is I try and bring fresh stuff. Like you said, I don't like to repeat other people's stuff. And like you said, some people do that. It's fine. That's their pages. They can do whatever they want with it. I like to try and bring something unique every time. That's why I'm still constantly trying to think of different days and different information to bring people. Like I started the Spell Sunday to try and bring another aspect of the spellcasters and bring that in. But yeah. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think you already know how much I enjoy what you're doing. You're really working hard to bring this community together in this way, and this is one of the things you started off doing. A lot of your posts and your stories of featuring different people, your website now. I think you're doing a lot of great things too. So that's why I was excited to work with you, is because I can already see that even though you just started your page, maybe 2 months ago, it's growing quick and you're doing a lot of good things quick. And I see a great future for you in this community.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you. A lot of good people out there, man, and there's some stuff that we'll talk about later down the road that is why I have such a love for this community. But yeah, I do appreciate that, man. Thank you. So
you started this channel, and you want to tell everybody exactly some of the things that'll be coming up on the channel?
Yeah. So basically, we did start a little over a month and a half ago, I think. This podcast was something that I wanted to start to basically feature in guests, and just like talk to people. And because I know one thing that everybody seems to love is FaceTime. They like to see the people out there that are making all of this content, and they always like to ask a bunch of questions. And so I figured if this is something where you and I can bring on guests that will be talking about their respective niche. So, for example, bring on somebody who's really good at terrain building.
Right.
Ask them some terrain building questions. Bring in somebody that's really good at world building, like the Pickled Dragon. Bring in somebody that's really good at wacky, off-the-hat ideas, like Jason from Critical Dice. And just people that are all in that space, and that take kind of the same attitude and approach as you and I do with the community. So that's a big one, and I want to build this up, and I thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm having some technological difficulties here. First time streaming anything on Twitch, so it's coming with its own challenges. But I promise it will get figured out, and we will get looking a lot better for you. But another thing that I wanted to do with this page is I want it to be a spot where people can come to, and if they don't know how to stream and they want to share their game, then they can pop on here and they can do it. I want it to kind of just be like an open space or community for people to share. I did make a Facebook group. There's a Facebook page, but I haven't done anything for it really. But I wanted to build that space for kind of like just a safe space where you know that nobody's going to judge you or nobody's going to chastise you for liking Dungeons and Dragons. I know personally, I don't share any D&D stuff on my personal page because I have a lot of just colleagues, people I work with and stuff like that, or family members that might not be interested in D&D, so I just don't post that stuff on there. So I wanted to make that basically a group where people could do that, because obviously there's so much great stuff out there that I constantly found myself wanting to share things, and I just didn't do it because I didn't want to put on my personal page.
Yeah.
But the podcast is going to be a big one. I just got the keys to my new home that I bought, so I'm going to have a pretty cool setup there. So thank you very much. So that'll be cool, and I may stream my game, I may not. It's still kind of something that's I probably will end up doing it, but I just want to make sure that we've got a good product first.
Yeah, exactly.
And good product, good production, things like that. At the end of the day, I play D&D because I like playing D&D with my friends. I don't really care about the, putting on a big show or anything like that, which is also why I think Critical Role is so great, is because they play D&D. They just happen to have cameras on them.
Right.
So would definitely like to have that kind of approach to it. But yeah, so a lot of just big things in the works. You and I talked recently. Did you want to go ahead and tell people about your Gen Con deal coming up?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be at Gen Con. It's what are we, a little over 3 months away? It's first weekend in August, so I'm going to be posting about that coming up on my story because I definitely want to find out who in the community is going to be there. I definitely want to meet as many people as I can out there in the community. And of course, I'm talking about Gen Con in Indianapolis, just to make sure. But I'm really excited for that. I'm going to be going, and I think about, like I think I was telling you, I think there's 4, possibly even 5 other guys in the crew that are going to be going. So looking forward to it. And like I said, I really want to take advantage of that to meet as many people as I can in the community that's going to be out there. So if you're going to be at Gen Con, definitely hit me up, DM me, let me know, and we can hook up. Maybe we can play, get a big game together, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Oh yeah.
I haven't made the commitment yet, but I actually grew up like an hour and a half away from Indianapolis, so I definitely am thinking about going.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
yeah, and that if we could link up, and I would really, my end goal, and this I'm going to say this on the very first episode, but my end goal or dream, if you will, would be to get a big group of all of the D&D pages, basically, that I've talked to and chatted with over the course of the years, and get them all together for a game. I think that would be.
And you're going to be DM, right?
Yeah, I could try. I would do it. I think part of me would be so excited to have all these other awesome DMs that I would want an experience to have, like, see how they do their craft. But nonetheless, yeah, it would be, if I could find a way to do it somehow to break it down into like 4 1-hour sessions and have each person do like a little mini one shot, that'd be really cool.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice to do a bunch of little one shots. Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, a lot of big things coming, and I thank you so much for coming on here and working with me on this. This is something that we've been kind of talking about and working with for a while.
Yeah. And trust me, I was very excited when you contacted me about this and told me what your idea of us kind of co-hosting this show, and then when you said you wanted to bring people on, which is exactly what I was wanting to do. I was very excited because I'd love to chat with all the people in this community, bring them on here, give them a voice too, and that outlet to be able to talk about D&D and just a group of people just getting together and talking about their love for D&D and just sharing the interests, what we do on Instagram and everything. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
100%, man. I'm kind of thinking about doing a signature question at the end of every episode, and I'm thinking about what I would want it to be. But I'm going to throw this one out there. If you could sit down and play D&D with one person, any person, who would it be?
Just one? That's a tough one. So, and it doesn't matter regardless if I'm the DM or if I'm a player, just one person that I would love to play with.
Yep. It doesn't have to be somebody that you don't know if they play D&D, like a famous actor or something.
I'd have to say, I mean, I'm not going to go with that. The obvious would almost, I want to say Matt Mercer. That's almost the obvious one, just because he's so talented. But I get to see him all the time. Mm-hmm. So the one person I would actually say is Joe Manganiello.
Yeah,
I would, because he seems like just a regular guy who loves D&D, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to play with him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really respect his approach in the sense that, like, whenever it's his turn in combat or anything really. Like, he's got his dice lined up. He's like, okay, I'm doing this, 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 and this. And then he throws it down. Like, he's very, like, just professional and punctual and to the point. And I absolutely love that. So that's a good one. I'd love to play with him as well.
Yeah.
But
same question back to you.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had to sit down and play D&D with somebody, honestly, it'd probably be Robin Williams.
Ooh, okay.
R.I.P. But just because he's so colorful and his bandwidth is so wide. What'd you
say? The role playing at the table would be incredible.
Oh yeah. And I don't even know if he ever did play D&D at all. But I think he would just be. What'd you say?
I said I wonder if he did, because it does seem like a lot more actors and people who are in theater and stuff like that actually do play D&D because of the role playing aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, and he's older than I am. He would have been older than I am, so he would have been around it. He would have been in his 20s, probably in his heyday in first edition.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
I know he did play World of Warcraft.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because there's actually like an NPC, like there's a little homage to him. It's a little genie. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that he would probably definitely be my number one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But cool, man. Well, I appreciate you so much, guys. Please go check out Keith's page. He's got some really good content. On his Instagram, he does a lot of stuff there. He does a lot of awesome stuff on YouTube with the Friday Night Fights. Just a lot of good content. He's a wholesome dude. I've been talking with Keith for probably about a year now for my personal page.
Oh yeah, because we did chat on your personal page before the D&D page. That's right.
Yeah, I think I actually started following you when you had like 400 followers or something.
Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah. I think I still remember I started the page on May 31st of last year.
Yeah.
It's actually been that long.
Yeah, coming up on 1 year, man. That's great. That's awesome.
Forget you've got your contest out there.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And if you guys are interested, thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot. So with my giveaway here, I basically wanted to do something that could be applicable to everybody. People that do play D&D, people that don't play D&D, people that are interested in getting started. So I'm doing a giveaway. There's a video on my page. Essentially, the first one, we're going to be giving away some dice. We got a dice bag from Carrie over at Tabletop Crafter. She's absolutely amazing. She does a lot of incredible work. So she's contributing to the giveaway as well. And then I'm going to obviously be giving away the classic starter set, The Minds of Femdelver. And then with the stretch goals and stuff like that with Kickstarter, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's see if we can do a stretch goal. So if we get to 1,500 followers, I'll be choosing 2 winners. And then the second winner will actually receive the Dungeon Master screen. Then if we get to 2,000 followers, I'm actually going to be choosing a 3rd winner, and they're going to get to choose and pick if they want to win a Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual, or Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So all you got to do is just tag some friends, share the love, and yeah, that's it. And I'll be choosing the winner in like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember what I put the end date on that. So go check it out.
And get out there and following people and get those numbers up. Get it to 2,000 because I plan on winning. I'm probably not eligible, but I would love to win the starter set because, believe it or not, I own every single 5e book out there. But I do not have the starter set.
Nice. Isn't that funny how that kind of works?
Yeah, I have every single book. I have all the stuff. I just don't have the starter set. I don't know why. I just never did have it.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I will be throwing this video up on YouTube. I think, Keith, are you putting it up on your YouTube too?
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out how, but we'll try and get it up there. Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, everyone. All right, take care, Cameron.
Yep, see you, Keith.
All right.